So we are good to go. So we've got some questions already in the chat.
Sure.
Veal, who do you want me to bring up on stage?
Whoever's got their hand up.
Oh, hand up. Oh, there we go. Let's bring up M. Boole. He's up on invite to speak. All right.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
put the hands up.
Shane,
Yeah.
usually what is a little bit more efficient that works is if you bring up a couple people and you just queue them. So
Absolutely. I will do
as soon as
that.
we're done with one, then we go to the other. We're not sort of waiting for people to come and go, so we can try and get as many questions in as
Absolutely.
possible.
Sounds good.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. You are ready to go, Mbool01. I'm not seeing green around your frame here to show that you're speaking. I don't know if you've got your mic set or not, but
Can you hear me?
oh, there you go. You're on.
Hi, Todd. Thanks for doing this again.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for attending today. Appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. I was wondering if you give us any update on Spawn 77 and if that's maybe coming out.
Yeah, actually, so that's in reference to a comic book storyline that we had talked about in our comic book division. It was an idea that myself and Thomas Healy, the editor in chief, but more so Mark Spears was part of that, the artist that has been sort of floating around these boards here, and especially over on the Odd Key side. And then a couple of writers have got some ideas. It essentially stemmed from sort of the original drawing I did. I mean, we did a toy, right, of like the comic, the Spawn drawing that I did when I was a kid, when I was 16, which was 1977. And so the idea was, hey, why don't we use that character and that drawing and come up with the story, but it wouldn't be quote unquote Al Simmons. I was a little bit dubious because, I don't want there to be like a Spawn persona like every 5 years, because then all of a sudden to me it'd get sort of overdone, if you will. And so, I'm trying to space out the amount of time in between them. The time between the Gunslinger Spawn and Al Simmons Spawn is, like 150 to 180 years. So I don't want to say that, oh yeah, there's one during Prohibition and one during the Great Depression and, one during World War II and one, during the Korean War. Now we got one, during the race riots in the 60s. So, but we came up with an idea that is sort of a tangent to Spawn, but it's not really like in the core of the Spawn idea. And I think it'd just be cool, right? I don't know if anybody out there has seen the movie The French Connection, but that was sort of our vibe that we were talking about, of what we wanted the world to look like. It just seemed like it'd be a cool place to set a story, and so that's where we're at. We're I gave the go ahead on it, and I think that Mark and the creative team are just getting their feet wet on it right now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you'd be good.
All right. Well, let me move you down to the audience. It doesn't look like anybody currently has their hand raised, but there's definitely some questions from the audience in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and
if you want to show some of those, otherwise I can just chit chat and just BS.
Yeah. So we got from AS is asking, can you ask Todd what he thinks will be something that we as a community members can do to help steer the physical collectors into this great digital space?
I don't know. That's a pretty big question, right? It's like anything else. How do I get somebody, if I'm a Red Sox fan, to like the Red Sox, or if I'm a Catholic, how do I get people to, go to church and be Catholic? So I think, and I'll just give my perspective, and it's no more right or wrong than anybody else in the audience. I think a lot of times that it's not necessarily the trying to sell and convert people that works. It's more of just people seeing and hearing and sort of on a tangent, seeing people having a good time doing something. And then there you get a little bit of FOMO, I guess. But people just want to go where there's fun. And so I don't know that somebody who's sort of ardent against digital is necessarily going to be convinced, but somebody who's maybe mildly curious, somebody gives a little bit of clear information, but more so, you just sort of bring them to a party every now and then, or you talk about stuff and you just sort of say, hey, here's what we're doing. I mean, I do it when I go to the San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. I'm up on stage. I tell them what I'm doing in the digital space and how cool it is and whatever else. And then I just let the audience decide whether it's something that they want to poke their head into, right? So I don't, again, it's not my mission to convert anybody to be, everybody's got to buy toys and everybody's got to buy comics and everybody's got to buy digital, or just because I'm doing it. What we do is just have as much fun with the people that are around, and those that aren't here, if we do our job right, then it's their loss, right? So, I mean, we got 59 people here today, right? So last time I checked, there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? So we should try and have as much fun as we can today. And too bad for the other 8 billion people that aren't here. So let's just have a good time with us.
Agreed. We do have somebody up on the stage. Let me unmute.
Oh.
And we got, what is it? Louis Wise?
Louis, I don't know. Louis Wise, maybe.
There you go. Louis Wise.
I don't know.
All right. Looks like you're on mute yourself, Louis Wise. Take yourself off mute. There you go.
I was afraid I would just interfere his speak when he was speaking about the people on the earth. Hi, I'm Louis, and I'm a big fan of your toys.
Thank you.
I love them. I used to collect them for some reason. I still don't remember the reason now, because I collect the Batman Dark Metal series, although I haven't learned about the characters. Yeah. I should have collected other characters, more iconic, because now all my closet is fitted with Batman from the Dark Universe or something.
Well, Louis, actually, before you get to your question, that it's interesting, because it would actually be curious to ask people in the audience stuff like when did you start collecting and why? And probably the answer is going to be a little bit what you just said. Like, I don't know what the impetus was. Like, I mean, again, why did any of us buy the first of anything that we collected, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, some of us probably have great ones because it's like, my brother had it, my dad, or whatever else. But I'm guessing there are other times that there's going to be people that just, I don't know. But once I did take that first step, I got addicted, right? So I know for me, that's how it worked for comic books, right? I didn't buy comic books till I was 16. And then I don't even know why. I went and bought my first comics off a spinner rack. And next thing I know, fast forward a few years later, I got 20,000 in my collection. So it wasn't there for 16 years. And then I ended up needing 20,000 in 2 years. So I don't know what that binge and purge was all about, but I'm sure that we all have our own stories about how we collect. But anyways, I interrupted you. Onto your question.
Yeah. So I got a few questions, about 4 to 5. The first one is, you created.
We're going to try and give as many people as much as possible. Maybe one or two. So ask your first couple, and then we'll give some other people a chance if you don't mind.
Sorry. I was thinking, will the DC, your DC line, the production line, make some toys of the Tomorrowverse? It is a really great universe, Tomorrowverse. The DC new animated. Just wondering.
Yeah, the DC multiverse line, as you know, anybody been paying attention since we began in 2020. Like we do a lot. there's a lot of it, it's hard to believe that if anybody has any interest in the DC world mythology, that somewhere along the line we haven't tapped into some of it. We've done video games, animation, cartoons, old retro toys, movie, TV stuff, comic book, like we've sort of looked in a lot of corners of it. And so to your suggestion, we'll continue to do it. We'll just look at everything that's possible out there and make our choices. The frustrating piece, probably from a consumer point of view, is that you don't really get a say in what it is that we decide behind closed doors, right? And that's where the internet comes in, going, man, why didn't you make this character? How come you don't do that character? How come it didn't come with this weapon? And I understand that, because as a collector myself, I'm always trying to be the art director of all of it. But I think we've done a pretty decent job over the last 4 years of it, and we'll continue to do it. Again, we constantly read people's suggestions, so it's not like we ignore it. So anytime people post stuff here or on other boards that we have or on our social channels, we're constantly paying attention to what people are asking for.
Yeah, thank you really much. Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just want to ask, now, do you have the license of Hasbro now? Like Hasbro?
No, well, no, because Hasbro's a big company. We have some small components of it, right? And those components that we're allowed to do get boxed off. So, again, when we do, let's say, the Transformers, we're only allowed to do those at a certain scale and do them, at a certain price point, sell them in certain places. So, which is fair. And in all honesty, it's fair because people are spending, there are other companies that are spending a lot of money and they're just trying to protect their territory. I know when I have a license, I'm constantly looking for a way to make sure that I'm not competing against 3 or 4 other people that are doing the exact same thing. So they just, there's like a pie. If you think of each brand as 100% and there's a pie, they just sort of carve it up into different pieces with different definitions of what you can and can't do. So like we recently, signed the deal to do some Marvel collectibles, but I can't, none of those can be articulated. Why? Because Hasbro pays a lot of money to Marvel to be able to do articulated 6-inch figures. So they're not gonna interfere with that business. So they have to come up with another way of finding a way to give something away on the figure end. And the answer is, okay, Todd, if you do A, B, and C, in this case, one of the criteria was that it can't be animated and it has to be on a base. If you do that, then that's not what they dub an action figure. So then they're not competing with an action figure. It's in their internal conversation, it's a collectible, which is a different category on that pie piece that they're talking about. So you take what you can get. Louis, we're up against a lot of.
Can I ask a last question? Can I ask a last question? For really last, or should I just get off?
Go quick.
Yeah. Oh, I have a friend who worked for DC, and he is willing to work for Image. Just asking. He used to be the cover artist of DC, and he kind of he wants a new opportunity to challenge himself.
Yeah.
Just asking. Yeah, he worked for DC for a long time, about 10 years. Just asking.
Okay.
Just asking. Thank you for your time, Mr. Todd. Big fan.
All right, you be good.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Todd. Bye.
Right,
I'll
bye.
still be off stage. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
All right. We have another person already up on stage. Zach, you are
Big
ready.
Bad Zach.
You're on mute right now, so take yourself off mute.
Big Bad Zach's in the house.
All right. There you go.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good. How you doing today, Zach?
Good. Thanks for taking my question. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be kind of quick on the line. I'm actually at work. I was just wondering if
And
you
the
had
boss is coming. You got 30 seconds. The boss is coming.
I was
Hurry.
wondering if you had a little insight. I'm a big fan of Spawn. I was watching Cogliostro as he turned into Sin. I was really excited when the new line of figures came out, and you guys did a Sin action figure. What I was wondering is, it looked very different than the character design from the comic book. I was just wondering if that was an intentional design choice, or maybe it was a mistake at the factory, or if you had anything you might be able to share about that.
Well, first off, there's always an interpretation of translating any drawing into plastic form, right? So those variations happen anyways, right? And sometimes I encourage my sculptors to not be slaves to any one drawing at any single time, unless we're specifically doing something that is based on an image and we're selling it, has that. It's of that image was what we were using. But if you're doing like a Wonder Woman character, or in this case Sin, or ever, or Spawn, like there's thousands of images you can pull from. And so we try to get our sculptors to do it. One of the things on the toy is there's a certain production of them where his skin tone got quite dark. And that was based upon something that's going to happen in the future here coming up in the comic book. So oddly, somebody found out and did something, and by the time we could correct it was too late, and it was like, so they sort of got ahead of the comic book story a bit. So
thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks for coming today, Zach.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just invited another person, Comic to Read, up on stage. Some reason they're not. Oh, there it is. All right. You're on mute, Comic to Read, and if you could take yourself off mute, you are ready to go.
Hey, and I see Shane in the audience. I see Logan is in there. So it looks like Marvel is spying on us right now. So
that is true.
They sent their spy over here. So don't say anything in front of Wolvie, because he's going to go rat us out. Wolvie's going to go rat us out. So.
Absolutely. All right, Comic to Read, you are still on mute. If you'd like to chat, take yourself off mute. And I just want to take this as a moment here. Everybody that's typing in the chat, I'm going to give priority to people that are on the stage, because I'm kind of watching the stage and bringing people up from the stage. And I'm watching the chat, but it's scrolling past me. So if you type a question in the chat, I might miss it. So use this opportunity to come up and get a chance to talk to Todd. I can tell you firsthand experience going to comic conventions. When you get a signature, you're there for a few seconds. So this is a rare opportunity to come up and actually ask a real question and have a few seconds to chat. So take this opportunity. So Comic to Read, you are up.
I could take a look. Where show chat. Okay, so I'll take a look at the chat too.
Okay, sounds good.
While we're doing this too. So, okay. All
right, Comic to Read, you are up. We got dead air. If we can't hear you, then we're going to move on to Sean. Looks like you're having some trouble with your mic, so we're going to move on to Sean so we can keep things moving along here. Sean R., if you want to take yourself off mute, there you go.
Hey, what's up, man? My name's Sean. I don't know if you guys asked this question earlier, but I just wanted to hear from Todd in the chat, or like through his voice, how he felt about his cover 340 being depicted on the screen in Wolverine and Deadpool.
Okay, so you were breaking up, so I only got bits and pieces of it, but let me see if I caught the question at the end there. You're asking if I had a reaction to there's in the Deadpool Wolverine movie, there's I guess a moment where Wolverine sort of does his claws come out, and then there's like this quick reflection of the Hulk in it, real quick, which is sort of a tip of the hat spoof of my Hulk 340 cover. If that's the question I think you asked, like, hey Todd, did you see it? What do you think?
That was my question.
Was that your question?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, that was my question.
Okay, cool. So because you were bringing up, unfortunately, I haven't seen the movie, so I've heard people mention it to me, and they go, "Oh, Todd," and at some point, I'm sure I'll get around to it. But I've said before, I'm this weird guy who does comic books all day long, and then at the end of the day, I unplug, and I watch very little fantasy when in my downtime. I try to sort of recharge for the next day because I know I'm going to be doing fantasy stuff, whether it's with the toys or video games or comic books or whatever else, right? Like today, I was writing for most of today for a couple of my comics with big crazy fantasy in it. But I for the longest time, even when I was younger, I just action movies and fantasy movies never sort of caught my attention. The movies I watch and I spend time looking at are usually kind of based on reality, right? And this is the unplugging part, right? So I've said before, I'm the opposite of like a lot of people. A lot of people have like a day job and then they go home and they want a lot of fantasy in it. My day job, all I do is fantasy. So when I get home, I want the opposite of and get away from the fantasy. I've got lots of people in my industry and fans and peers that can do it 24 hours a day, and God bless them. I'm not wired for it. So it's a long-winded way of saying I haven't seen it, but anytime anybody wants to spend their money doing something to let people know that my work exists, I never complain. So, like all those homage covers they do, right? Some of those are based on artwork I did 30 years ago. Like they should have put that to bed 30 years ago, and they keep rolling it out. And I'm like, thank you, competition, for putting something out that they go, it's based on my artwork, and then at the bottom it says, dedicated to Todd or after Todd. Like, oh, okay, shoot, keep it up for another 30 years.
All right. Well, Comic to Read has gotten back on stage. Oh, you got your audio fixed. Fantastic. And just a little heads up, everybody is now starting to pop up. We got about half a dozen hands raised, and we got 2 more people set up on stage to talk after you. So, Comic to Read, you're ready to go.
Hi, Todd. I'm a big fan, and I like all the high-quality work of the 7-inch line and 6-inch line. Big fan of 966 Batman. So my question is,
yep.
We try to get the likeness rights to the Yvonne Craig Batgirl and the George Reeves Superman.
Batgirl, I don't think can happen. And somebody explained to me why, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I see. I heard her estate wants to renew the likeness agreement, but Warner Brothers hasn't approached them yet.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's it. It was. I mean, you can imagine the sophistication of protecting likenesses and trademarks and copyrights were oddly quite primitive, even in the 60s, right? Which is why you can have the San Francisco Giants and the New York Giants football and baseball teams, right? You can have a football team called the Cardinals and a baseball team called the Cardinals, and logos that from college to pro, like people weren't protecting stuff. And so it's an odd legal thing. And as we now get more sophisticated and the lawyers get more conservative with making sure that they protect everything, if they don't believe, and I've run into this plenty of times, if they don't believe that they have something signed, sealed, and delivered 100%, then they put up their hand and they balk, right? And so for whatever reason, going all the way back, the Batgirl situation is they don't feel is 100%. Or maybe it will get solved. Maybe it won't. The George Reeves Superman is way closer to being at 100%, and we're having conversations with them about that. So,
Oh, that's great. I would. A lot of us really like a George Reeves Superman because the quality of the work is amazing. The sculpting and like a Julie Newmar was just wonderfully sculpted.
Yeah.
And
so again, I don't know if everybody's seen the George Reeves Superman that he's talking about is the first TV show. I mean, I think there were some hits and pieces of it, but it was the first sort of ongoing TV show with Superman in it. It started as a black and white show, and then at some point when TVs became color, it turned color. I know this because I'm old enough that I remember when it shifted from black and white because it was reruns. I mean, there were colored TVs when I was a kid, but they were running the beginning of them, and then all of a sudden, the first time I got to see George Reeves in color, not Christopher Reeves. This is George Reeves. This is the original one. And he had this cool body that looked like, in hindsight, kind of like our dads trying to puff out their chest a little bit. So they didn't look like The Rock or Arnold Schwarzenegger. But anyways, it was kind of cool. So given that we're doing a bunch of retro stuff, they're saying that it looks like we should be able to get our hands on that.
Oh, that's cool to hear. I'd also like to see a version of the Captain Action Batman. Not that the costume comes off, but the 7-inch Captain Action Batman. And also, my friend Wally wants to know
Big Bad Wally.
that the Earth 2 JLA number 55 Robin. He's got a Facebook page about it. And so I'm just asking for him if he'll plan to make the Earth 2 JLA number 55 Robin. It was where it's like the collar was like like wearing a bat. It was just a different costume, but it's interesting.
Right. Yeah. So the thing is, so with Batman and Robin, there's a lot that pool is now really deep, right?
Yes.
It's quite interesting because I remember years ago I did when we first started Image Comic Books, I did a book with Frank Miller. It was a Spawn Batman crossover.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And, I still can remember having conversations with them that they were like, we don't want you to change anything. We don't want you to distort anything. And if you do modify anything, although we're going to be really harsh on it, that it got to go back exactly to where it was before, because we've only got one Batman and we don't want anybody to mess with it. And then now fast forward 30 years and there's like 100 Batmans and there's a dozens of different logos and utility belts and capes and Robins up the wazoo, right? And so the upper management has obviously changed dramatically. As a matter of fact, yes. I thought when I came out with Spawn, I go, hey, there's more than one Spawn, that I was maybe pushing my luck, and now it's like, what are you talking about? There's way more Superman, Batmans, Robins, and Spider-Mans than there are Spawns practically. So I got to play a little bit of catch up. But we'll eventually. My guess is we'll get to your friend Wally's. We'll get to Wally's Robin figure that he wants.
Okay, I do like I'm glad you finally made the 7-inch Adam West Batman, and hope you make a 7-inch Burt Ward to go along with it. And they announced a Light and Sound Batmobile, 96 Batmobile, and I just wanted to ask you: is that Batmobile going to be larger for 7-inch, or is it going to be the 6-inch at Lights and Sound?
Oh man, I should know this, but that's a good question. You know what? I'm gonna have to go check. That's right, because sometimes we do vehicles to be specific to scale. My guess off the top of my head, and I should know since my name's on the mast head, but we do a lot of stuff. My guess is that it'd probably be the 7-inch figures that.
Oh, great. Yes, yeah. That's great to hear. I hope you see more 7-inch figures of 96 Batman line. Julie Newmar, and the other characters. We've had a good run. We've had a good run and a good response from those. So we're quite proud. We're quite proud of our results on those. So yes, I'm very impressed with like Nightfall Batman, the sculpting. and I'm looking forward to a Cape Crusader line based on the cartoon, like the new Batmobile, and 7-inch line for the new Cape Crusader cartoon. Is that in the works?
There's some things we don't like to talk about out loud because again, it spoils stuff. So I'll just say that we've got a couple of things you're talking about lined up on our queue. So
that's great to hear, Todd. Keep up the good work you're doing.
All right, you be good.
I'm very impressed with all your work. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, appreciate the loyalty.
All right, let's bring Stormy up next. Stormy is actually calling in from overseas, so it's a lot later. Stormy's a great person. So, Stormy, you are up next. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And just so everybody's aware, we've got 3 people that are sitting with their hands raised. So just be cognizant of that when you're up here asking questions. So go ahead, Stormy. Stormy, we're not seeing your voice pop up. So I want to keep things moving along just because any dead air tends to feel like it lasts twice as long as it actually does. Tell you what, why don't we move along to Gunslinger, Stormy, while you get your audio figured out? We'll move along to Gunslinger.
Hey, Todd.
What are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just wanted to come up and just say hi, and I'm super excited for the new Gunslinger Deadly Tales coming out soon.
Yeah, so the Deadly Tales, again, to give reference to everybody, is a comic book we got coming out. And as a bit of a side note, I have a tendency to do this, that I know what people are talking about, what the fans are talking about, but sometimes I assume everybody in an audience doesn't know everything. So I don't assume everybody's a comic collector or a toy collector or video game. So I usually try to give reference to what everything is. So what you're talking about is the new Gunslinger book that we've got coming up that looks, I mean, it's written by Jimmy Palmiotti, who did I think it was like 102 issues of Jonah Hex. And Jonah Hex is a Western character for DC comic books. So this book, for people who aren't in the know, is based on the Gunslinger Spawn. But the book that I write, which is actually one of the ones I was writing, 37, that Gunslinger has gotten pulled into modern times. So he's sort of a man out of time story trying to sort of survive. The Deadly Tales book you're talking about are tales of him before he got pulled forward. So it's all about Western backdrops and history. So because I didn't want to do 2 books that were either Western or 2 books that were modern. And so the way to differentiate them was to say, oh, one is him now, here in the future, and one of them are the stories from him in the past that are Western. It means that you might like one over the other. You don't have to necessarily buy both. If you like the character, I think you'll enjoy both. But one of those settings may make more sense to you. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think we have 7 issues already done, right? The first one isn't even out, and we have 7 of them. Once they start coming, because the artist, Patrick Reynolds, isn't quite a monthly guy, so we wanted to make sure we had a nice inventory of them. So once we got going, we could keep it coming so that people didn't have to wait for too long in between each issue.
Right. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. And the Violator Origins was amazing first issue. I'm so looking forward to finishing that series.
So, yeah, so a little behind the scenes on that one. The Violator series, it's kind of a unique experiment. One of the main bad guys in the Spawn comic book, and obviously we've made plenty of toys of them, but the idea by Mark Andreyko, the writer of it, was he wanted to sort of go from sort of the origin of him all the way up to today, but that spans literally thousands of years. So each time he makes a jump, he's in a different era. And his idea was, can I get a different artist for each one of those eras so that they feel like there's a jump in time because it looks different. It's not the
cool.
same. It's not the same look. So I don't know if that'd be startling for people because they'll get, because people always pick their favorites and they go, man, why didn't that guy draw the whole book? But I'm looking forward to it all coming out and then eventually doing a trade paperback that people can then go, oh, I can read this big story, and I can see that purposely we were doing different looks with different artists to suit the different stories of the different eras. So hopefully people let us know whether we're successful with it. But so far, the first issue is just hitting and been getting sort of good comments.
Oh, I'm super excited now. I didn't even know you're changing artists every issue. That's even cooler.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Well, thank you, sir. That's all. I just wanted to say hello and thank you.
All right, you be good, Gunslinger.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your question. Stormy, let's see if we got your audio situation figured out. Might be possible that I need to remove you down to the audience and then bring you back on. Sometimes that'll kind of jog things a little bit. Oh, there you go, Stormy. You got it. Hey, I'm so glad you came on stage. All right, here you go.
Right, thank you, Shane, for bringing me up. Thanks for your time, Todd. My question's a digital one. I think that a lot of us all want to know about where we are with the backlog regarding Bath Wave 1 Mongol, the end of season rewards, and Lobo crafting. Do we have an ETA on it at all?
Yeah. On some of them, yes. We've got our lineup coming, right? So with some of the digital figurals coming up, and then some of it just the digital. We've set our schedule. I've been talking to Lee and again specifically about a couple that you're talking about, and then overall in the digital space too, we've been working behind the scenes of pulling together a way. Like I also have the channel of Oddkey, which we also do NFT stuff. Of bringing both MTD and Oddkey under the same roof. Right. Not necessarily like mixing you guys in the same bowl, but basically making it one channel, right? So it would basically be all things Todd. I forget we even have a name for it, but basically McFarlane Digital. Not necessarily McFarlane Toys Digital or Oddkey Digital or whatever, like just all things that are under my purview would come in. And then once you come into the channel, just like anything, Stormy, you can just go left or right. You can go,
that makes a lot of sense, Todd.
Yeah. So, well, I think where it makes sense is I'll let people just sort of go whatever room they want to. But I think it makes sense to, when you're doing an announcement, to have just a general announcement that basically peppers everybody and not just, team to the left or team to the right. Because again, I think there's the bigger the community can be as a whole, although again, we may be in different, rooms, just like anything on Discord. I think it's better. Again, the old adage, Stormy, there's strength in numbers. Right. And sometimes I think that between the two, one side doesn't know what the other sort of side's doing and what's kind of cool.
Yeah. Of course.
And then, but we still have to keep a separation because again, the currency isn't the same for both of them. Although we're trying to see if there's any possible way to even solve that. But the first thing, let's just get everybody into the same house first, and then we'll worry about whether everybody's in the same pool on someday. But that's where we're headed with that, along with getting, as you said, the backlog of some of the ones we've promised coming at you on a steady basis.
No, I really appreciate your answer, Todd, and your time. And thank you very
much. Yeah, what do you mean? Speaking of time, I hear it's way later, so you're staying up late. So we got to let you get to bed.
1:45 in the morning. I need all the beauty sleep I can get. Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Phil. Thank you, Todd. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Well, it's actually not nighttime for the people in California, but
Very good. All right, let's bring JLT Fong on. And just before we do that, while you're taking your mute off, I'm noticing that there is a separate chat when we're in these events, and I'm seeing that there's 19 chats coming on there. I'm not seeing them because we're kind of focused on the main chat in Discord. So if you have questions, one of those 19, I would move them over to the regular Discord just so you can get seen. All right, JLT, you are up.
Yeah, matter of fact, before he goes up, like again to your point, where is that chat? Like again, when I hit my chat, I'm just getting stuff like whoever's up on stage. I'm actually not seeing what their chat.
So if you're on the main stage and if you're on a desktop where I'm at, up in the upper right corner, there's a little word balloon that mine has a little 18 on it to show that there's 18 different chats. So
that's it. You're right, but when that's where I'm going, and I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, okay. So you're not in the main chat of MTD Discord.
Well, let me see if I hit join, see if they let me join. But so I don't know. I thought I was joined, but I'm not seeing what anybody's typing. I'm getting some generic stuff.
Okay. Well, that's all right. We're tracking it at our end. We're good. General chat in the main Discord, but we'll keep track of it. Yeah, Veal and I got eyes on it. So if something comes up. So anyway, JLT, go ahead and take your safe up mute. You are ready to go.
So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So Todd, this is James from Toronto, a fellow Canadian. How you doing?
What are you doing? I just finished watching the Blue Jays, and Vlad Guerrero didn't get his 200th hit. It was a bummer.
Yeah. Thanks for doing digital. You've got some great licenses, and hope the future is bright. Just wanted to ask a question about how you felt about the current level of success, and what sort of line it needs to cross in order for it to be successful from your point of view, and then to be secured of its future.
And what was the last piece? And to be what?
To be secured of its future, so that it's not just a risky thing, but something that's going to be here for the long term.
Well, let me like crypto is going to be here for the long term. So, however that's being dispersed, I mean, it's going to be there, right? I have no doubt in my mind about that, right? It will exist. To what level it will exist, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But it's not a fad, right? There's too much money, too many people invested in it for it to basically flame out, and especially because now you have, governments and security places that are, involved in it. Those are big business dogs, right? And they don't get involved in stuff that they think are only going to last a year or two. So, crypto's here. So the question sort of is, and I think what you're sort of hinting at, and what we've all probably, everybody in this audience has probably had a conversation of, is running into people who are either not versed in digital crypto the way that we are. Once they are, all they know about is what's in the news, and they're a bit timid and or afraid of it, or they've just heard bad things. Or there's people that are just old and sort of, they talk a little fuddy-duddy of like somehow that what we're doing is not worthy, and I'm just talking about just on an art scale, on a creative scale, but you're going to run into those conversations anytime any new sort of iteration of anything comes along, right, that people don't understand. And I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I remember hearing the same thing when I was younger, when they were just like, it's never going to hang around. Nobody wants to hear this. I don't understand it. It's just noise, blah, blah, blah. And because that person didn't get it, they somehow thought that the rest of the world wouldn't get it. And they were wrong. And I think people are wrong about crypto. So the question then is, how do we as a community, how do we sort of enjoy ourselves, and how do we have success? Here's the thing about using words when you're discussing, is that you have to sort of kind of define it, and success can be as big as small as you want it to be, right? So if success is that we want to go out there and only do 100 things and sell them, and we do that, then it was a success. And somebody else somewhere else says, "Oh man, I sold 10,000. You only sold 100." I'm not chasing their success. You set your own goals, and then you react to those goals. I don't care if it's digital or if it's out in the real world. We make art. We come up with a number. We put a price on it. We put it out there, and then we get data of like whether people are. And from that, you can then make sort of kind of calculations on whether you were successful at your goal of attaining that. So I'm not the digital space isn't something that I need to make $1 billion at, or even $2 million at. Like that's not the goal. The goal to me is that I'm here today talking to 60, 70 people that I otherwise wouldn't be about art. And for some people, they're only here for the comics. For some, they're here for the toys. And for others, they're here for digital. And for some, it's a combination of the above. I'd rather have 60 people than have no people. And so to me, 60 is better than 0. It's a success. Now, if the goal was, I'm not doing a Q&A unless I've got 1,000 people, then yes, then I could look at the number and say it's not successful. But I don't measure success as a private company and somebody who doesn't need more money. I don't say that in a braggadocious way. I just don't have a need to have a private plane or an island. So what I need is to have people engaged in my art. And that, to me, is the goal. And if I have people engaged in my art, there's a success there, right? And then, yes, there's a dollar figure. Like if it costs you $1,000 to get those people engaged, you hope you can make $1,000 back and at least get to break even. So there is that commodity. I'm not saying that there isn't a business thing to it, but like I'm okay. I'm okay. And if we get 10 times bigger, I'll be happy. And if we remain where we're at, I'll be happy, right? Because we have our space and it's ours, and we're having a good time. So.
All right, sounds great. I wish you all the best success here.
Yeah, and I appreciate your support. If it, people like you, let us keep doing it. So.
All right, thanks, JLT. Appreciate it. Let's bring up. Was it Mazm? AMAZZM next? You were the next one.
Cool. Hi, Todd. So I was just curious about, like, in the 90s, you had, like, and early aughts, I guess, it was like Dark Ages Samurai Wars for the toy line stuff, and like in like the 4th or 3rd wave, there was like the original Alien Spawn. What was just?
Oh yeah. No. We went crazy. Yeah. No, we had 35 different series, lines, whatever you want to call it, of Spawn, and we were just making up cool stuff all like every time, just making up cool stuff.
Yeah, like what was kind of like like obviously it's like, oh, you need to sell different versions, but like was it just kind of like what was kind of the thinking of like, well, what would Spawn look like an alien? It was just like, no, this is what is aesthetically cool, and so we should just make it. Like, what was the thought process?
That was it. I've said before, I don't think I'm much smarter than anybody else. I used to be a little boy, used to go down to toy aisles and watch TV and stuff. And when something came on for me, and it doesn't mean that it was the same for anybody else, but I just go, oh man, that's cool. That's super cool, right? Like you're a little kid, super cool. And then as I got older, I ended up getting into the business. I never lost that little inner boy, right? I'm an old man now, and I still have the inner boy in me that and I have to remind people, in all honesty, I have to remind people at meetings sometimes, business meetings, not necessarily internally, but when I'm talking to corporations and they're making decisions creatively, and I have to remind them that they used to be fucking 8 and 9 and 10, right? They're like, why do you want to do that? It doesn't make sense. Because we're not fucking 10 right now. But if I was 10, I'd buy that thing in a heartbeat. Like, come on. Cool is cool, right? We know what cool is when you're 8. You know what cool is when you were 18, and you know what cool is when you were 28. It evolves, but there's different iterations of it. And it's like, stop thinking about it from a business corporate point of view. Just make cool shit and price it fairly, and people will come. And that's it. That's the easy recipe. Oh, and by the way, if you do that and you throw a big brand name on top of it, Star Wars, Transformers, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, then shoot, then it's a home run. It's a home run. But so I had Spawn, and nobody knew what Spawn was when I got into the toy business. I only had one thing that I could do: beat them with a better product, make a better mousetrap. So what would be cool? We're going to do Vikings. Let's do the coolest Vikings. We're going to do anime. Let's do the coolest anime Spawn. We're going to do the future robot Spawns. Make the coolest future robot Spawn. We're going to do Western. Then let's do it's not. I don't know. It's not that complicated. I have a saying, and my employees know it. I stop people at times, especially internally, that are with Mike. I go, guys, you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it.
Cool.
Just do something. Just do something. Just do something cool, and fucking put a good price on it and put it out. That's it. Stop with all the rest of this other stuff, right? We don't stop it. So that was it, and we got 35 series, and I remember when it came out. Other than, I think, Transformers at the time, it was the second longest running non-stop line of toys that had been out there. Because, and I know this may sound shocking, but even at some point, Star Wars toys stopped for a bit and then got picked back up and booted up again. But it wasn't non-stop. And so I remember talking to Toys R Us and Target and Walmart buyers, and they're just like, how does this thing keep selling, Todd? We don't even know what it is, right? You don't get a movie, you don't have a video game, you don't get a TV show. I didn't at that point. And it just keeps sort of chugging along. And it was just like, because I think I'm giving them a lot of plastic, a lot of value at a fair price. Oh, and by the way, it looks cool. Like, come on, it's a robot. It looks cool. So that's why it's passing the eye test. The thing about toys, unlike a lot of other businesses, is that you get to see, unless you're doing like a vehicle and it's in a box, but action figures, for the most part, you see everything you're about to buy. There's nothing hidden. You don't have to unwrap it and take it out of the package to discover what you're getting. You can see through it. You can see through the plastic. So either you like that and you buy it, or you don't like that and you don't buy it. So to me, it's like, shoot, does it pass the eye test? If a kid that knows nothing about Spawn is looking for something cool, or his mom is looking for something cool for him because it's his birthday, and she sees this cool plastic big hunk of bright color robot, and it seems like it's twice as big as Transformers, I might get the buy, because she's going, shoot, that seems like a good value. So I don't know, and we've been at it for 30 years, so I'm not inclined to sort of jump away from the MO that's basically kept us on the map for 30 years.
Cool, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming up on stage. Appreciate it. Todd, how are you doing on time?
I'm okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's bring up Gavin next. Take yourself off of mute.
Hey Todd,
right.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, bud?
Dude, I'm doing a lot better. I picked up that Sergeant Rock figure you made, dude. You can't believe how excited I was when I got the Sergeant Rock figure. I was like, oh my god, he made a Sergeant Rock figure.
Yeah, it was a long it was it was a long time coming, and part of it was because there is a pretty strict policy where you couldn't use guns, right? And so
Right.
it was like, which is weird because some of their characters in the comic books carry guns, and so it's like, how do you do that character who every time you see him in a comic book got a gun but you can't do a gun, right? And to me, Sergeant Rock was sort of one of them. I mean, we went back and forth and said, okay, hey, maybe we can do this or this or this, but luckily, I think they sort of saw that they might have overcorrected with that policy, right? And so
Right.
I understand why it was put in place. I don't want to be condoning sort of violence because there's enough gun violence in North America, especially in America, to keep us busy almost every day.
Yeah.
So they were looking for policies that seemed like they weren't condoning it, but at some point there's just historical reality, right? Like this, Sergeant Rock is a World War II character, right? I mean, that's sort of where he comes from, right? Or Korea or Vietnam or whatever. Like it's he's a soldier, right? And good, better, and different soldiers, go into battle armed. So we're not. It's not a policy. We're not advocating one way or the other. We're just saying that's the character. So we had to get really creative with them to be able to sort of eventually be able to get him off the ground. So glad you liked it.
Okay. Oh, thank you. And the one question I had was, I was thinking about the other day, probably one of your best pieces of art, but also one of your most underrated. I don't hear a lot of people talking about is the awesome Korn album cover, Follow the Leader, and as well as the music video for Freak on a Leash, which I find myself watching on occasion. It still gives me chills. But that wanted me to ask, how did that collaboration come about between you and Korn or Jonathan Davis? And do you have any interesting, fun little stories about the partnership that you had with
Yeah.
them?
So let me sort of quickly, although sometimes I don't give quick answers, but let me just sort of run through some of the music stuff because you're just tapping into another category, right? So the Korn video you're referencing came about because we had the Spawn movie come out, and there was a soundtrack. Just most movies come out with a soundtrack, and in some cases, a lot of the critics were saying that they liked the soundtrack way better than they liked the movie, right? And so the soundtrack got a lot of good positive press. One of the tracks on it was from Korn, and so they ended up needing a music video, and by that point, I had done my first music video. The first music video I ever did was for Pearl Jam, Do the Evolution, right? And that came about because I had done the Spawn animated show on HBO, and I get a call out of the blue from Eddie Vedder, who's the lead singer of Pearl Jam.
Oh wow!
And Eddie sort of says, "Hey, we're getting pressured by a record label to do a music video. We hate music videos," which is an interesting comment. We don't want to, they were the opposite of most rock bands. They didn't want to be on screen, right? So they're going, but they've been bugging us, and we're just trying to figure out. And then it came to me, Todd, why don't we just fucking do it animated, right? And so Eddie said, I've been watching this show, the Todd McFarlane Spawn on HBO, and it's super cool. It's radical, right? Like I didn't know animation could be like that. So how would you like to do an animated music video for it? And so it came about from that. So we did that one, worked with Eddie and Pearl Jam, came out, got nominated for a Grammy, lost to Madonna. She got the music video of the year. But then Korn, who had worked on the Spawn movie and saw the Do the Evolution, then said, hey, we got this thing called Freak on a Leash, and we want to have it half like live action and half animation. So I took over the half animation part. There was a husband-wife duo, the live action part of it. They went on after that to do this cool movie called what is Life, Little Miss Sunshine? I think it was Little Miss Sunshine. That was
Right,
Academy
really?
Award. Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
they've been doing music videos. And yeah, we're gonna go do an actual small, little, low budget movie for a Grammy. I mean, excuse me, for an Academy Award. But we did the Freak on the Leash. That one got nominated for a Grammy. So all of a sudden, I'm two music videos into my career, and I got 2 Grammy nominations. I go, wow, I didn't know it was so easy. There's been none since then, just so you know. But that one actually did win a Grammy. So then that opens up doors to be able to do then album covers. We did a couple other music videos for other bands. Disturbed was one of them. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I did a live action one for a band. It was a big band up in Canada at the time that was winning a lot of awards. The band was called Swollen Members. But the video, if anybody wants to go look it up, is called Breathe. And they were friends with Nelly Furtado, so she's in the video. And it was one of those shoots, sort of like what I did in my last video, the Ozzy Osbourne, where you don't have a big budget and you have limited time. So the curiosity of, if you go look at the Swollen Members Breathe video with Nelly Furtado, we had 11 hours to shoot that. That was all they gave me.
Oh, wow.
And if you take a look at it, I think we crammed a ton into 11 hours. And here's the thing that you should be looking for. There's a cage in this video, like a cage that holds humans. When I arrived on the scene and I had gotten approval of what the music video was going to be, and I walked the location the night before we were going to shoot it, there was no mention, and I had no any input that there would be a cage in the music video. That, like, it hadn't. It's just that as we were walking around the places where we were going to shoot, I looked in the corner of this warehouse, and there was cool. It looked like a big giant fucking shark cage. And I just turned to my director of photography and I went, we got to have that in our video tomorrow, right? Like, it's just too cool to not have it. And it ends up being the central piece of the music video. Somebody said, hey, Todd, that's not in the approved script. So you got to let the people who are paying for the record label, you got to know you're making changes. You can't make changes. And my attitude was, they're not paying me enough fucking money to worry about whether they like it or not, right? We're just gonna do it, right? So I never told the record label. I never gave them a chance to say no. We just got it set up and we put it in there, and it ends up turning out, I thought, pretty cool for something that was literally a complete happy accident. And we did it in 10 hours. But and then the thing with the Ozzy just came about because we had made toys of him years ago, and I knew Ozzy, I knew Sharon Osbourne, his wife, and then they just said, "Hey, we're Ozzy's coming back. He's doing his new album, Patient 9, and he's coming out with a song, and we want to know if you want to take a crack at it." So, sometimes opportunity just comes and. Yeah, cool. It sounds cool. You either say yes, no, or you check your schedule and go, oh, man, I'd like to do it, but I can't, or the other way around. You just do it, and things happen, and then you move on to the next gig. So,
wow, that's really cool. I had no idea about just the complete happenstance about those your music endeavor. Well. Mm-hmm. Thank you for answering, and I hope you have a good night, sir.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on stage.
And by the way, can I just go on record too? That album cover he's talking about, the Korn one, right?
Yeah.
So I inked that. The drawing of it was done by Greg Capullo, one of the great comic book artists of that's in our industry right now, right? So to give credit where credit's due. So
Absolutely. All right, sorry, no salad. You are up next. Go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Hey, thanks for having me up, guys. And hi, Todd.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, good. Hearing you're a bit late, but yeah, no, I had a quick question and maybe a small suggestion if there's enough time. But yeah, actually, I collect mostly digital, but what's got me back into the physical lately has been, your Batman the animated series stuff. Because I had these toys when I was a kid, like the Kenner figures, and I think lately there was the Lightning Strike Batman, and I got the Batmobile and the old DC Direct remake stuff, So, I've been back into physical big time now, so that's awesome. Thanks for that.
I mean, across, I say all collectibles to some degree, there is a pretty heavy sort of retro sort of vibe that's always there, right? Lots of people, I know exactly what you're talking about because I remember the toys I had when I was younger, right? And when I got older, it was whenever I saw those toys that I had when I was young, it was like, oh my God, there it is. I got to get it, right? It's just that as the different generations come, what was sort of retro to one person, right, is like the distant past to somebody else, right? So
yeah, for sure.
Batman, like again, it's the question that you can ask that if you can tell how old people are to some extent. If you ask them two questions, you like Star Trek, and if they say yes, then you say, who's your captain, right? So you kind of can do that with Batman too, right? Or the Batmobile. You like Batman? Yeah. What's your favorite Batmobile? And you could sort of tell how old people are, right? So by whatever answer they give. But yeah, the things we used to collect when we were younger, to me, I think are probably the most cherished things that we probably have in our collections, even if they're in rat shit condition. I think they're still sort of the pride of some of our collections.
Yeah. So my question was, is there a chance that any of this could come to digital? Like, if I could have all the Kenner figures in digital, that would be just mind blowing to me. So,
yeah.
Or just the animated stuff.
So yeah. So the simple answer of can it be done is yes, right? Everything can be digitized, right? That's I don't want to say the easy part, but it kind of is, right? The harder part is twofold. One, doing it for a reason and a purpose, right? Not just doing it because you can, right? And so I usually task the people at my companies to just go, why are we doing it, right? Like there has to be a reason, and the reason can't be, first off, the reason can't just be because we can make some money off it. Like that can never be the answer, because I'm not a public company, and I don't abide by that one. You take money as a byproduct of doing a good item that is of high quality at a fair price to the consumer. And then the last thing you get then is money. And money can't be the first thing you think about. It just has to be a byproduct of it. So the second piece, which at times is the harder piece, is that we have to have, if it's not something that I've created and I own, right, then I have to have a contract and a license. And as you can imagine, in the real world, when you talk to people about digital and you get like a mixed emotion from people, the exact same thing happens within the world of corporations, right? You say digital to them, and some got a big smile on their face, and some start twitching, right? And they're like, or they say, well, you can only do it if you attach it to a physical, and we already have a partner doing some stuff over in digital, so you can't just do a digital only item. And you have to navigate those waters with every one of the people you have a contract. And so I would argue that most of the reason that we don't expand some of the stuff at a wider range is because we're not legally able to. It's that simple.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and maybe you guys find a way, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can expect something soon, hopefully.
No,
And
good. I can tell you that I don't take no very well. So whenever anybody says no, then I come back like 2 months later and I ask again and I ask and then I also try to collect data so that I try to give an education as to why I think they should be doing it. And then if I still can't get there with an education and data, then I then try and do it with my own things that I do own. And then I go, well, I did it, and look what happened to my stuff, and I don't have to share any of the money, right? So, and they're in the money making business. So at some point, if you can educate them enough to go, that if we do it and it works, then I've got to give you a check, right? That they go, oh, okay, fine. So you just need to find how to negotiate with people to let them say yes, you can go do art, and then once they do that, then they usually leave you alone and have some fun. So it's just trying to let them take us off our leashes. So this is why when you do this, I think one of the good purposes of doing Q&As and stuff like that is at times I can give some of the reason and rationale and behind the scenes stuff because the answers aren't nearly as clear cut or seem as obvious as they might be on your side of the fence, right? There's a lot of things that we have to deal with on the other side that people don't know about. So we're not trying to be the bad guys when we don't do something that people are asking for. There's usually a valid reason why we're not doing it. So.
yeah, no, it completely makes sense. And just to the suggestion part now, been doing the digital for a bit now, and this is to the team and maybe you and everyone. It's just, I've been trying to get some friends and people, introduced to the digital side. And something I've seen, maybe it's not a widespread thing, but something I've seen is that, people struggle a bit to get into the gamification part of it. Like the crypto thing aside, that's a hurdle which, people have to do, is that, there's a lot of XP and leaderboards and points and stuff, but all of that is tied to your desktop application, and you need to have certain computer and, all these things. And, and I know that, so I'm just wondering if there's any platform updates scheduled or something where, we could see this information on your website, like the XP. I know the website's handled by Rarible, someone was saying before, but if you could see information like your place on the leaderboard and how much XP and all that stuff on the website so that it's just more accessible. Because in my opinion, maybe that helps some engagement, So that was just my small suggestion.
Yeah. And I think it's an excellent point, and I agree, right? So I think that you can sort of kind of divide people sort of into sort of two buckets. Those that want things to just be simple, right? And I think everything to some extent should be easy entry point stuff. And it's one of the things you mentioned, one of the digital, because like, what do you mean I got to make a wallet? What do you mean I got to go buy some crypto? What do you mean? You know what I mean? They're so used to going to Amazon, just seeing something and hit click, right? That it's like, well, we're not quite there yet. So we've got that piece that's there. But given that we know that resistance is there, we should try in as many places as possible to make it as easy as possible so that our moms could get and do it if we gave them 10 minutes and not feel like this is silly. The other piece, the other sort of side of the fence is that there's then those that are well versed in it, and so once they're in, they actually want something a little bit more complicated, sophisticated, which is what you're talking. That you got leaderboards and sort of fun inner competitive stuff, and you can just get information and you get a little nerdy, right? So I think that's the engagement part of it, right? Where the other group just wants to come in and grab the thing that they like, that they saw, and it's just like picking something off the shelf, and then they're going to go and shop into the next aisle, wherever that is. So I think we need both. In all honesty, I think we need both. I think we need simplicity to get newbies to come in, and then those that are willing to upgrade themselves, if you will, like yourself, that we need to have enough engagement for a guy like you, because we'll lose you for the opposite reason, right? That it's like, that doesn't seem like it's overly interesting and or fun or engaging. I can go to someplace else that has those components.
Yeah, no, that you hit the nail on the head. So it's I appreciate you guys taking feedback on, and thank you for the nice chat. And I'll see you guys at the next one. And thanks for having me up.
Sure. All right. Okay,
Let's
Shay,
try and get
maybe a couple more.
Sorry. Yeah, we got Eden is his texting into saying that his phone is getting ready to die. So let's try and get you up on stage before your phone dies. Eden, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Yeah, this is not good at 4%. This is garbage.
I'm at 10%, so I'm heading to charge mine too.
Oh, come on! No way you predicted that. Come on, bro.
Like we're gonna both drop at the same time.
All right. Todd, I got a silly question. It's a jokative one, bro. I have to ask this. Are you Irish, dude? Because your last name is MC, bro, like Conor McGregor or something, dude. Come on, you have to be Irish somehow.
Yeah. On it's actually Scottish. On my dad's side. Yeah. So my dad's parents, one dad was Scottish and the mother was French. So my dad's grew up in Quebec, speaking nothing but French for the first 19 years of his life. So before he moved out west and learned English, and then he.
Let me turn on the mode on my phone that could stop the battery from dying. Let me use the super power saver battery. One moment, I'll be back.
Or not.
Or not.
let me try it.
Sorry.
I have to try it. I can't give up. Yeah. I hate giving up.
No problem. Todd, you were getting ready to say something before we brought Eden up on stage?
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, all right. That was quick.
All right. 5%. That's better than 3. Anyways.
Go quick.
My question immediately. So, my question is, Todd, what is it? So, how is the movie and the anime going? Animated Spawn for this year. I kind of want to know if what you're doing first is this year, like, the animated series of Spawn this year and then the movie next year, or are you trying to do one way or the other? Because I'm super curious.
Right. So, because you only got a couple seconds, go quick. So the movie script is out to a director right now, right? We're just and the directors themselves, so they're looking at their schedule to see whether it can work in the time frame that we've given them that we would like to get into production with the movie, right? So, this is the process that sort of can be aggravating. You go to people that you like. It doesn't mean you get them because they got to like your project, and then even if they like it, they have to have an opening on their schedule, right? So, but the animation to me comes after that deal gets done, because everything falls sort of behind the big shadow of the movie being announced and going into production. And depending on what deal I make in Hollywood, it may or may not include the rights to the animation for the same company that gets the movie. So all of a sudden, if it doesn't, then I go to another studio, animation, and then the animation, which may be on TV, and the which be in theaters, going at different time frames, and neither side cares about the other guy's product, right? They're just concerned about their own. Sort of like what happened the first time around. The movie came out, it was that New Line Cinema and then the animation HBO. And they were separate companies at that time. They're under this today, but back then they were separate companies. So that's where we're at. We're like, and then if I can't make the right deals, then as I've said before, I've got lots of sidelines that are willing to put up cash, and we'll just go and do it on our own, and we'll just do it sort of outside the norms. Again, that would be completely in keeping with everything I've ever done in my business anyway. I just sort of go away from the big machines and just do it on my own anyways. So we see. We'll see. But right now, we're just waiting on a director to say yay or nay.
Yeah. So last time we talked, the other one, I was gonna jokefully say, I asked you that question, directors who are your canons and lists, right? Bro, why not have me as the director of the film, bro? Bro, come on, bro. I love taking things seriously and finishing things with passion.
Right, because we're going to some pretty heavy hitters, and if it all breaks down, then the backup is always that I'll direct it myself. So
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of screenwriting and stuff lately on my own for your character. And
cool.
I just want to say quickly that it's going really well, my friend. I
good.
promise something will get out. Something will get out.
All right, you keep it up because you've only got 2% now. So you got to phone your mom now and wish your mom a good night.
Yeah, it's still going. It's still going right now.
All right. So we're going to take our last question here. So I appreciate you coming up on stage. You be good. Good luck to you on all your writing.
Yeah. Thank you, Todd. I hope we talk next time. Until then, see ya. Kunoch, man.
Yeah.
All right, Comic Guy, you're the last one of the night. Go ahead and take yourself off of mute.
I just wanted to ask what Todd has been drawing this whole time that he's been answering our questions.
I'm inking the Brett Booth, one of the artists on the Spawn comic book. He sends in pages, and the pencils he does are staggering. I mean, they're staggering. And I just go, oh man, I just wish I had nothing but time and I could just ink all your pages or something. But he handed in the splash page for Spawn 359. We'll be sending 358 to the printers on Tuesday, so he's ahead of schedule. Anyways, and I saw page 359 and I went, man, Brett, is it okay if I ink that page for you? And he was like, yeah, but you're gonna have to phone the inker, Adelso, who does all the work, and he's a great man. And so I had to email Adelso and go, hey, Adelso, don't mean to step on your toes, but I want to ink this page, right? And oh, by the way, I'm also the boss, so I don't know if there's actually an option here. But of course, he said, yeah, cool. It's one less page I have to ink. So I'm take a look at when issue 359 comes out, page 1. That's what I've been working on as we've been talking.
Awesome. Thank you, man. And thank you for the last 30 years of entertainment. Appreciate you.
I got another 30 in me, so we're only halfway there. So you make sure you're there for the long run.
Very cool. All right. Well, so that was our last person up on stage. Todd, if you don't mind, I have one last question from myself.
Okay.
I wanted to find out. So, I've been in this project, the digital side, since the very beginning, and I absolutely love everything that you're doing. One of the things I think is most interesting is how you're trying out different things, from the fidgetals to the crafting elements. I don't know if there's a way that you could maybe provide a little alpha for what do you think is in the future, like, a year down the line? What are you going to experiment with next? I
don't know. I mean, we'll probably stay a little bit steady on some of the things that we're doing that are working, right? That are there. But we probably sort of play around on the NFT side a little bit more on the odd key side, because I'm not tied to the restrictions that I mentioned before of what we can and can't do with license, right? But I don't know. I like everything that I do creatively. There's sort of two trains that you're going at parallel. One is, here's the things you've done that people seem to enjoy. We should probably feed them more of it, right? It's basically comfort food, right? Let's do it. Let's do it as good as we can. See if we can add some other stuff to it. And then the other piece, which is always sort of the more exciting, what haven't we done? Right? What could we do that, as an experiment, not to turn the whole ship, but just every now and then throw a curveball and see if there's any appetite for it, and go from there. So that's what we're going to do. I mean, I know we're constantly talking with Jake on on the odd key side, and with Lee, and up until recently with JL on the MTD side. And I know you've been involved in some of those. That I don't have any hard and fast rules for any of it. So what do we have in the future? I don't. In all honesty, I don't know, because we should be trying a lot. I think we should be listening to what people want and just sort of reacting accordingly. And if we can do it with licensed products, so much the better. And if we can't, then do it with things that we create internally and or I own myself, and go from there. The goal should be, going back to one of the earlier people up on that asked a question, the goal should be just keeping people engaged and thinking that it's a fun place to be around. And so and there's only one way to actually know whether you're succeeding on that, is whether you're bleeding people, right? So I don't know. It's sort of easy. It's like we're playing baseball, football, and you take a look at how many people are in the stands. And if there's only half as many as there were 3 seasons ago, maybe you're not doing the job that you should be doing. If there's a bunch of them, maybe you should continue doing it, but try and do even better. So I know that sound like a dodge question instead of being specific with it, but I don't want to intentionally be specific, because I think this area is still, and I keep saying it, is still so wide open for experiment. And I think we should continue to do such. We'll fail miserably at times. Again, that's the downside of taking a lot of chances. But I always think that it's way better to try and fail than to never attempt to do something. So I think the crypto world is built for us to do things that we otherwise couldn't do anyplace else, right? What do you mean? Okay, I can take a cover and animation. I can't do it. Okay, industry, and I've been at it for 30 years. So
yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel like that's one of the most exciting things about the digital side of the business, is that you can do things from a collecting standpoint that is just not possible from the physical side. The idea of crafting elements together, burning elements to unveil something new, it's just not possible within the physical side. So that's what I find most interesting about being here in the digital world.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, the listening to the audience, what it is they want. Again, the audience isn't necessarily right. You have to just do what you think instinctually will be interesting, because the thing about making any kind of product is that we don't know as consumers, I'm one of them, of what we want until we see it, right? And sometimes you have to show them new stuff to see whether they want it. So instead of always taking the same easy path and doing the same stuff that other people want, and even when there are people pointing me into areas of success, then I think that some of the other people are doing it for reasons that I'm doing. So it doesn't. I'm not compelled to replicate it, because I'm not trying for the same goal they are. So it's okay. Let's do something else. I promise you, if we're trying to do a one-on-one to make a lot of money, then that'd be a different presentation than us doing something that a lot of people can have, or doing, and you might get a rare one, right? Those are two different sort of ways of playing the game. And then even the items that you have and the scale, them, whether we can add sound to it, all the things. Like what do you put into it and what don't you? And we just sit back and listen and let people tell us what they like.
Agreed. All right. Well, this has been about an hour and a half. I think this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out here and talk to everybody. This has been a real treat.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate everybody showing up on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And hopefully we'll do another one of these real soon.
All right. Appreciate everybody showing up.